In spite of dire warnings of spiritual warfare from a coalition of Christian evangelists, preparations for next week's Celebration 90, otherwise known as the Gay Games, moved into high gear today. Registration for the Games opened this afternoon at the West End Community Center. Organizers say that at least 7,500 athletes will take part in the week-long event. But last night in Burnaby, about 1,200 Christians fervently called on God to intervene and stop what they called an event inspired by Satan.
The power of prayer for these true believers is the ultimate weapon in their spiritual war against Vancouver's Gay Games. They say it's a war against Satan, not people. These Christian zealots are rallying under the banner of a crusade against homosexuality.
You must challenge it. You must do it. Thank God there are homosexual people here tonight who are washed. They're no longer homosexual. They're no longer drunkards. The millions of dollars that Vancouver hopes to make out of it. All those material pleasure-seeking things. People love pleasure more than God. I'm a sinner. I'm tempted to sexual lust constantly. But I stand here justified. Whatever you forbid on earth is forbidden in heaven, and what you permit on earth is permitted in heaven. We're going to come to a climax of this shortly, but that's why, in the name and on the authority and the word of Jesus Christ, we are now forbidding these games in Vancouver.
Will there be confrontations with athletes participating in the Gay Games when they start?
I hope there'll be divine confrontations, that God will speak to people's hearts and lives, and maybe through others, but there wouldn't be any militant or adversarial confrontation. We would want to love people and demonstrate that love to them.
And a lot of people don't have God's forbearance or wisdom, and they sometimes get awfully excited and they get carried away into violent acts.
Well, let me tell you just how violent they are. I have had probably 300 phone calls from the gay community, and they're violent, let me tell you.
They say their marching orders in this spiritual war comes from the Bible, and homosexuality is an abomination.
It's a sin against God, it's a sin against mankind, because we believe that God made man and woman to be together, not man and man or man and woman.
Rape is a reality, it always has been, but does that mean that we should continue raping because it's a reality? I mean, rape is not right. Child molestation is not right, so should we go on molesting children because it's a reality?
Rape and molestation are crimes. Are you saying it's a crime to be homosexual?
Well, according to God's word, yes.
This afternoon, registration for the Games opened at the West End Community Center. It's attracting contestants from 25 countries, and they're unimpressed by the spiritual war declared by the evangelists.
Thank you.
They're praying for Jesus to intercede and stop Celebration 90. What's your reaction to that?
That's their opinion. I am against that opinion, but not violently so. They're right. They have their rights to their own opinions, just like anyone else does.
I feel sorry for them. It's too bad because it's an interesting event. It's an opportunity for many people to participate culturally, on a sports level too. It's their loss.
They can pray all they want. We're going ahead with it. And that they've got a right to do what they have to do, and we've got a right to do what we have to do.
The evangelists plan prayer walks at the Games, claiming the sites for the Lord, as they say, spoiling them for the enemy. At the prayer meeting last night, they handed out this pamphlets suggesting that people encircle the seawall and claim the whole park for Christ, at Stanley Park, I guess, and to walk on sites where events are taking place.
They're more than welcome to come to our events. They're completely open to spectators, and we'd be happy to have them as spectators. We have considered all contingencies. We are in communication with many levels of police in this city, and we are prepared for anything other than spectators at every single one of our venue sites.
But last night, the evangelists were saying they won't even have to show up. They're banking on a greater power to shut down the games.
Will the power of prayer stop the gay games? Do I believe that? Yes, I do.
If it doesn't, what happens then?
That question doesn't come in my mind. I don't entertain that question.
So for these watchmen of the nation, stopping the gay games is a matter of faith.
More than 9,000 athletes, 2,000 volunteers, and 15,000 spectators are expected to take part in the Celebration 90 Gay Games beginning in Vancouver this weekend. In fact, it's the biggest single sporting event anywhere on the continent this year. The Games, attracting homosexuals from around the world to the West Coast, will pump about $18 million into the local economy. But not everyone is welcoming those who celebrate the gay lifestyle. And the first signs that any protests might turn ugly have started to appear.
The welcome for Celebration 90 has been marred by graffiti splattered on the walls of the West End Community Centre, where participants for the Gay Games began registering last weekend. But it all just reinforces the need for the event, say the organizers.
It says we have a long way to go as far as educating the general population. We are looking for our freedom to exist and not have people challenge our rights as human beings to exist, and that's what's important. So this is saying that there are more groups out there we have to outreach to and to help educate, and that's what Celebration 90 is all about.
So far, 1,200 volunteers have signed up to help organize and carry out the first ever international gay games to be held in Canada.
Because I want to be a part of the celebration. I mean, it's really fantastic to have so many gay and lesbians together in one place.
It's a wonderful thing that's happening in the community right now, and I just want to be part of it, and they need all the help they can get.
To me, it's a celebration of my culture and letting people, heterosexual people, see what we're really like, that we're no different from them.
Hey, you need to smile. You sitting back?
Volunteers, in fact, account for almost all of those working on the games. Although 9,000 are expected to participate, only 7 are paid Celebration 90 staff members. Although many people think of Celebration 90 as a gay athletic event, it's actually much more than that. There will also be a cultural festival featuring music, theater, and films. And there will be a lot of partying as well. And it's all designed to not only help gays accept themselves, but to enlighten the rest of the world about the homosexual community that exists all around them. And despite all the amateur help, Games officials say they're ready for any trouble.
We have a very thorough security plan. We've been working with all levels of police within the Lower Mainland, and as well we have our own private security firms which we have through the stadium and through this facility here.
And the city supports the games.
Last week the Square Dancers were here. This week it'll be the Gay Games. A few weeks from now it'll be the Molson's Indy. Have a good time. I don't think people see that, in a sense, perhaps there are small groups who are uncomfortable with it, but I think most people are welcoming and hospitable, and that's something that the city's very proud of. Whether it applies to racial or cultural minorities, whether it applies to our own diversity, it's certainly just another element of the city that's welcoming.
Organizers of the Gay Games say Celebration 90 will be the biggest sporting event on the continent this year, attracting 7,600 homosexual and lesbian athletes to Vancouver. Celebration 90 will feature 30 sports at more than 40 locations around the city. Following Saturday's official kickoff at BC Place Stadium, the Gay Games will be top-heavy with competitors, but the only thing that will be in short supply are reporters assigned to cover the event.
Some are legitimate hard-training athletes. Some are here just for the parties. Organizers say about 10% of participants are true competitors. So is this a sporting event?
It's a participation, that was count. I do my best to win, but if I don't, that's okay.
The media sees it as a quirky event, a cultural event. Neither daily newspaper is covering it as a sporting event.
It's not open to the public. It's not an open event. Most of the things all of the things we cover are open to anybody who is capable of reaching a certain level of competence can play.
It's a special interest group. There are lots of, I mean, you and I could come up with we want to start a games tomorrow. It's the Southern BCTV games, and all of a sudden we expect to have it covered. I mean, there's a lot of that going on.
It's a major event, and everyone's getting together, but it's not really a sporting event. It comes under the same umbrella as the Senior Games, as the Special Olympics, as the Canadian Newsman's Bonspiel. It's held every year, and I don't think the public really cares.
Some said they were disappointed because the sports pages are not covering it. Some of the participants answered the way the media expected them to.
I think there is a definite sense of competition, friendly competition.
Does it matter who wins?
To me, not really. No, I think the participation is what it's about.
People do not normally see and think of gay athletes and lesbian athletes. So having 7,300 athletes here and the caliber of quality of competition is going to challenge that stereotype. And I think it'd be very difficult for the sports editors to take a look at it and take it seriously.
The sports editor at CKNW doesn't take it seriously and doesn't intend to cover it.
It's of interest to those who are competing and those who go out to watch, but I don't think anybody cares. Did Bruce from Spokane beat Tom from Anchorage in the 100-yard dash? They're not world-class athletes, but it's an event that if you want to see it, it's there for you.
Well, they said that they might have somebody setting world records.
If he's setting world records, I'll watch him in the Olympics.
It would be, I think, great progress to see sports as an institution recognize that what Celebration 90 is doing is, in fact, international competition. It's competition that's encouraging personal best, and that, in fact, top-level performances will come out of that. That's sport.
Early this afternoon, television station CKVU said its sports department would not be covering the games. Later, after we asked why, they said they had changed their mind and they would cover them, but not necessarily run them. They said that would depend on the value of other sporting events of the day, as well as world events.
Tomorrow night, 30,000 people will celebrate the opening of the Gay Games, Celebration 90 at BC Place Stadium in downtown Vancouver. For the week, the city will play host to an unusually large number of people whose sexual preferences are different from those of the majority. San Francisco remains the gay capital of the world with 250,000 homosexuals. But as Mike McCardle reports, the 30,000 to 40,000 here may raise a few eyebrows.
The visitors are saying this is a wonderful, free atmosphere. But some of Vancouver's straighter citizens are saying this is a no-no.
Shall we hold hands? Can we hold hands? It's an abomination against our Lord Jesus.
Oh, really?
God, yep. Homosexuality, that is.
15,000 gay athletes and supporters are coming, joining the 15,000 who live here. Most have never been here before. Most say it's wonderful here.
It's like inundated. It's great. Everyone's just very, very friendly. It's good. And the people of Vancouver have been very, very friendly as well.
What about you? What sport are you in?
I'm not. I'm a spectator.
Spectator. You've come all this way from Australia?
Yep.
Just to watch?
Cheerleader.
Another impression.
About the gay community?
Yeah, here.
They're all good looking.
Really?
Yeah. It's like a smorgasbord here.
Inhibitions are no problem. They're on a convention and they party.
I think it's not right.
It's not right?
It's not right. Why can't you just join normal Olympics? Why do they have a gay day? It's not right. We don't have a straight day. We don't go walk around going, we're straight, we're happy about it. Join the normal Olympics if you want to have some Olympics.
I mean, maybe you're proud of it, right? But what if you got little kids walking down the street? You don't want to see two men hugging and kissing each other like you do. You see two men kissing? I don't really feel that's right.
But the majority we talked with were in favor.
You know the...
Well, it doesn't bother me one way or the other. No.
Good.
Everybody can do what they want.
And you?
That's their own lives. Sure. They can do what they want. Sure. It doesn't interfere with me in any way. I mean, I live in a house where there's gays, and they're the best neighbors I have.
Someone who didn't want to be on camera said not to take this seriously. It's just a Harlequin romance, a fantasy that will last only 1 week, and then the city will straighten itself out.
2 hours from now, history will be made at BC Place Stadium with the official opening of the 3rd International Gay Games, the first time they've ever been held outside the United States. The opening ceremonies are expected to attract more than 12,000 spectators, as about 7,000 athletes and entertainers, most of them homosexuals, inaugurate a week-long gay festival called Celebration 90. And one of their main goals will be to change the image that many still have of gay people, to show that homosexuals are people who can do much more than organize elaborately choreographed extravaganzas.
Getting ready for the big event. They are practicing for the opening ceremonies at BC Place of Celebration 90, the first international gay games ever to be held outside the United States. At first glance, it looks like stereotypes many straights attached to homosexuals will be reinforced by the week-long event.
Watch me, I'll make it much bigger. Watch me, I'll make it much bigger. What?
But across the city, gays who don't fit the stereotype are also preparing.
For me, it's one part of who I am, just like being a triathlete and just like being a swimmer and my career. It's one part of who I am. I think that it's time for people to realize that it's, you know, people are people.
Do you think you're going to change any stereotypes that people that have about gay people? They somehow, a lot of people don't think of gay athletes. They think of gay ballerinas or something like that, or hairdressers. Do you think this is changing the image?
Oh, yes, certainly. I mean, there's just such an amount of people competing here that it's bound to have some sort of impact on the public here.
More than 6,500 athletes from 24 countries will take part in 30 different sporting events, including a united team from East and West Germany.
What's the difference between gay life in East Germany and, let's say, West Germany?
Oh, there's a big difference. The communist leadership underpressed, that's right.
Oppressed?
Oppressed. At the long time, gays. And the gay scene, how in Western countries, isn't in Eastern Germany.
You have gay bars, gay clubs?
Many, not many. In Dresden are living 500,000 people and there's one gay bar.
The athletes find gay life in Canada more open, but only to a degree. How do you feel here in Vancouver?
Fairly safe, although sort of been told that it's probably not as easy to walk down the street and hold hands, something like that, yeah.
How do you feel about that?
Well, it's something you sort of get used to, but it'd be a better world if we could do it quite easily. Yeah.
Celebration 90 will last a week, but the participants are hoping its legacy will be to change attitudes for a lifetime.
Meanwhile, Gay Games organizers are taking steps to avert any possibility of confrontation as thousands of Games participants socialize in Vancouver over the weekend. On Monday night, the athletes will be joined by thousands more thronging to English Bay to see the finale of an international fireworks festival. Organizers say that many teens from the suburbs will be there and admit that some are not very tolerant of homosexuals. Carol Gagnon says they are encouraging Games participants to travel with a friend or in groups. She says they also have security in what she deems are necessary areas. The Gay Games are underway. Last night, more than 10,000 spectators joined 7,000 athletes from 27 countries at BC Place to inaugurate Celebration 90, a week-long festival organized by Vancouver's homosexual community. And despite opposition to the event from a number of religious groups, there were only 4 protesters outside the stadium shouting anti-homosexual slogans, as gay participants and supporters inside celebrated.
To the athletes, organizers, and above all, the volunteers who have worked so hard to make this a success. Our heartfelt thanks. Let the festivities begin.
Queen Elizabeth couldn't come, so they made do with one of their own, as Vancouver's gay community inaugurated Celebration 90. 7,400 participants, most of them homosexuals, from 27 countries will take part in the 3rd International Gay Games, a week-long athletic and cultural festival. And last night, more than 10,000 spectators were on hand at BC Place to cheer them on.
These are the athletes of our world.
Outside, those attending the opening ceremonies encountered 4 fundamentalist Christians protesting the event.
I choose the righteousness of God. I choose the power of God. I choose Jesus. You want to choose that and go to hell? You make that choice. You make that choice. I choose salvation through Jesus Christ. You want to choose damnation? There it is. There it is, my friend. Choose demonism. Choose demon possession. I choose Jesus Christ. He is the living and true God. You can know Jesus, my friend.
I would say that I find this quite entertaining and fully support his right to do that. I mean, it's kind of amusing, the lunatic fringe.
You don't agree with him, though?
No. No, I don't know the Jesus that he knows.
I don't know. I'm supposed to love your brother and your sister. I choose to love my sisters.
The devil doesn't want you to go to heaven. We want you to go to heaven. We want you to have eternal life. We don't want you to be bound by sin.
Do you find this offensive?
Well, yeah. I mean, if you were heterosexual and he said you were going to hell, wouldn't you find that offensive?
They're passing judgment. Is that what you're saying?
Yes. And I don't think we can do that in this society about sexuality, as long as it's responsible sexuality.
We're here. We're queer. We're not going shopping. We're here. We're queer. We're not going shopping. We're here. We're queer. We're not going shopping.
Back inside, the official mat was out for the games, expected to pump more than $10 million into the local tourist economy.
We're very proud in Vancouver of the people in this city who give their time and their effort to make Vancouver more hospitable, more understanding, and a more welcoming place.
My simple task tonight is to welcome all the visitors to this province and bring greetings from the government of the province of British Columbia. There's 69 members there. I'm here.
Also on hand, Canada's first openly gay Member of Parliament.
We salute those caring people who speak not of sodomite invasions, although what a magnificent invasion it is, but of an invasion of hope, of justice, of dignity, of respect for all.
What we need is good medicine. We need, yeah, alright. I talk about good, sweet medicine. That's what we need. That's what we need.
From Lorraine Segato, formerly with the Parachute Club, along with her music, there was also a message.
Had been invisible for so long, and as I was watching you all move by, I started to feel this sense of pride that I hadn't felt for a long time. I want you to know that for me, these events are not so much just about celebration and playing together, but they're about community, and they're about visibility, and they're about learning how to love each other and the differences between all of us.
It is not easy being lesbian and gay. Right now, the fundamentalists here in Vancouver are praying for us. I don't mind them being born again, but why did they have to come back as themselves?
Brings people together from all walks of life, you can see it, and all different kinds of professions, men and women from all over the world. And it's a wonderful feeling, and I'm proud to be gay now. I don't feel like I have to hide anymore.
Oh, it was really inspirational. It was wonderful to see all those lesbian and gay people down there and to be part of the majority for once. It's the most empowering moment of my life so far.
Emotional?
Very emotional. I cried. I can't wait to the closing ceremony so I can cry some more.
Why did you cry?
Because seeing that many gay people in one place is just, it really affirms that we are everywhere. And we're not going to be quiet, and we're not going to stay in our closets any longer.
Perhaps the most impressive moment for the 10,000 spectators, 7,000 participants, and 2,000 volunteer workers had been this, marking for the first time in Canada the official start of a week-long international gay competition in Vancouver.
When you think of parades, you generally conjure up images of Santa Claus, baton-twirling majorettes, and floats. Today, Vancouver played host to a parade like no other the city has ever seen. Drag queens, leather men, and a gay member of parliament riding in a jeep festooned with purple balloons. It was the Gay Pride Parade, run in conjunction with Celebration 90, the Gay Games, and it was an event to be reckoned with.
We love Vancouver. We are the Sisters of Perpetual Indulgence of San Francisco, California. Never shake your legs.
Hey, Mom, I've got some news. Trees! Thanks for trees! Thanks for trees!
They're going by too fast, but it's fantastic. Just fantastic.
Oh, no, I object to it because my church voted against it.
It's a good time. I'm glad to be here. It's fun. Where are you from? Michigan?
It's Gay Pride. I hope there's more to it. Is that all?
Whose pack is it? Thank you. Great, thank you.
Natural bodybuilding at its best, no steroids from San Francisco, America's most beautiful city.
We turn now to the largest gathering of athletes anywhere on the continent this year, Celebration 90, the Gay Games currently underway in Vancouver. Among the sports of the Gay Games is one that requires as much brain as brawn. 50 athletes are competing in the demanding two-day event at Jericho Park. Some of them admit that they even know how to play the game. Mike McCardle reports on gay croquet.
Yeah.
It is not a rugged sport. It is, they say, a way of meeting friends. The danger is low, the skill is high.
Well, you've got to aim, you've got to get the balls through these little tiny hoops with these big mallets. It takes a great deal of skill. Aiming and hitting just right and angles and a lot of stuff like that.
And you have to figure out all of this, who's going to be next and who's going to hit you and who are you going to hit and who you're going to kick out of the field and who's going to get mad at you and kill you at the end of the game. So it's kind of cutthroat.
Why did you pick to play croquet?
They don't know how to play anything else. They didn't have Monopoly.
If you're dead on a ball and you hit a ball that you're dead on, then you just replace both balls and you lose your turn.
That's what, okay. And you're not dead before you get. We thought that you were dead until you got through the first wicket.
I'm the ref. I say, start again. We give you an extra 5 minutes.
So just to make clear.
Winning, they say, is not everything, but some admit to being closet croquet players.
I've been playing in the garden for years, which of course doesn't help me here because the mallets here are regulation and they're larger and the wickets are narrower and so on. So when we came out for Team Vancouver to do its first practice 3 days ago, about, I would think 80–90% of the people who turned up had never seen a regulation set before. So we went from there.
The setting is classic. And the competition is becoming popular with gays.
I think it's a wonderful idea because, for one thing, persons with AIDS can play because it's not too strenuous and they can still compete. And it's also fun because it resurrects a time that is long since gone as far as the gentility of it and that sort of thing.
In a far corner, two men in the back from Seattle are playing two men from Vancouver. Vancouver is suffering.
How are you doing?
Oh, shut up.
Oh, come on. How are you doing?
We're losing, but our spirits are undaunted.
Well, how come you're so good, according to them?
The line on the mallet, I just lined it up with the balls.
And that's it?
Yeah.
Oh, God, there goes my umbrella. Just a minute. Grab my mallet.
There are unscheduled interruptions. Still, play will continue until all but the best and the toughest are eliminated. In the end, one will get a gold medal. The rest will carry on.
Vancouver in a high 9 out of 10 for tolerance by organizers and volunteer workers at the Gay Games, despite a few ugly incidents. In the worst, a visitor from Seattle was temporarily blinded when an anti-gay thug sprayed a mace-like vapor into the victim's face following Monday night's fireworks display. Another anti-gay target was BC Place Stadium itself. A sandblaster had to be brought in to clean the concrete facade of the stadium of violent spray-painted anti-gay graffiti. One volunteer worker at the Games wonders why it took authorities 3 full days to remove the slogans.
It's really upsetting. You know, the fact that the Gay Games are happening is very exciting for all of us, but these incidents just show that we have a long way to go in terms of understanding and tolerance in our community. We're getting better, but we still have a ways to go.